What's up, family? Welcome to the Simeon Moultrie podcast, where we are working to help you become the best version of yourself. And I have with me Mr. Sean Dreer. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you?
I'm good. Listen, we had such a great conversation last week. We just said, wait a minute, let's just pause this and just keep this conversation going because
keep it going.
There's some other things we got to talk about.
Absolutely.
Now, we were just talking about last week self-management.
Yes.
But I think a very important topic is to talk about managing your emotions, because our emotions get us in trouble. And when we don't handle our emotions correctly, we can misinterpret information.
Yes.
Misread rooms and people.
Yes.
And literally feel our way out of where we're supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Now, let's be real. Let's be transparent about emotional baggage, pain, the residue of certain things. Because even when you deal with emotions, if we deal with relationships, for example, you have someone who was in a relationship for a period of time and it didn't work out. They ended the relationship. And now both of them are moving in different directions, but one for some reason can't move on, and they don't trust,
right?
And they don't want to share, and they don't want to give love because they feel like if I do this again, I'm going to find myself in the same place.
Right.
But I think the deeper question is, where were you when you chose the person you gave your heart to?
Yes. Yes.
Because if we address where you were when you let them in, maybe you won't have the same outcome. Because we have a tendency to look at the output, but not the outcome, but not the input.
Yes.
And so where are you emotionally in your life? Because you can have a business deal on the table that you emotionally work your way out of. You could have personal situations where you are moving a certain way because of where you are emotionally. And I think people need to understand that the emotional intelligence of an individual is important. Now, I'm saying a lot, but what are your thoughts on just emotional intelligence and just being solid emotionally?
Listen, it is one of the most important things that anybody can do, because when you're unable to manage yourself emotionally, it's going to impact how much money you make. It's going to impact the type of opportunities that you're afforded. It's going to impact your longevity in anything, because you can get there without emotional intelligence. But at some point, you're going to expose yourself. You're going to expose whatever immaturity, whatever weaknesses, whatever challenges are there. They're going to come. And I think this is especially important as people seek promotions, because they're at one level. So I think about it in terms of a job. So like they may, we've all had jobs where we just quit them. You just wake up in the morning like, yeah, I don't want to work here no more.
I hope you got another job lined up.
I don't want to work here no more. But you can leave because there was no real attachment. But then you get to a certain point in your life where now you got 401k, you got dental, you got vision, you got all kind of other stuff. So now you can't just move the way you used to move. So now you got to be able to manage, because some of the same things that triggered you on the old job where you didn't have anything to lose, it's going to trigger you on the new job. But you got to be able to manage it in a way that's healthy. Like you can't just flip out every time. Like after a while, you get too old for that.
Right.
So I think emotional intelligence is so important, because like you said, it impacts the way we see the world. It impacts the way we see people. We misread rooms, opportunities, the whole nine, just because we're not emotionally intelligent. So I think it's important. I think it's a conversation that more people need to have, because that's the missing link for some people. There are some people who are competent, but their emotions are out of control.
And one of the things that we need to highlight is the reason people are challenged emotionally is because they don't know how to handle pressure.
Yes.
Because it's the pressure that's going to that really tap that nerve and tap that emotion. So let's deal with this. Let's say someone is saying, hey, I want to feel loved. I want to feel accepted. I want to be a part of a group. I want to be a part of a family, and their drive is acceptance. Well, then you get in a room where people make you think you're accepted, but they really like you for what you do, but they really don't like you.
Yes.
Because your gift is the contributing factor to the conversation. But when you know who you are, you won't even go into rooms until they value you. Or if you walk in a room where they don't want you, but they want what you can bring, then you handle them accordingly, because you're not going to give your heart to wolves, or you're not going to position yourself where you're bleeding and you jump in the water full of hungry sharks.
Absolutely.
And pressure reveals where people are emotionally. And I was watching an interview with a few celebrities, and they were talking about how they had to work their way through the ranks. And it's like, it doesn't matter whether it's in business, whether it's in entertainment, whether it's in church. Everyone has a process that they have to go through to get to where, eventually where they'll be. But the thing that was interesting to me in the conversation was how they said, if you took a guy who could sing, put him on a stage overnight, and he's in a coliseum singing to 70,000 people, what would happen to him is probably the exposure would destroy him, because he had no preparation.
Yes.
Because when you go through the process, it builds you emotionally for where you're going. This is why we can't skip steps for where we're going in our lives. You have to pay your dues.
Yes.
There's so many people don't want to pay dues. Why people don't want to pay dues? There's no cheat code.
Well, I think social media hasn't helped. So I think
agree.
One of the things, and we love social media. We understand the benefits of social media. We get to reach more people, the whole nine, get all of that. But I also think social media at times exposes us to more than our hearts can handle. And so social media is about outcomes. So even if you're going to do a reel or a recap, so we see a bunch of people doing like my morning recap. Well, that thing goes so fast. Right. So the reel is only going to last a short amount of time compared to the actual morning.
Right.
So you're going to give us 6, 7, quick things that you did, but in reality, your morning was 4 or 5 hours.
Right.
But you're giving it to us in the highlight. So I think people see the outcome and then they say, I want that. And they don't know the process, the pain, the sacrifice, the challenges that went into getting this particular outcome, because that part's not cute. That part's not, we don't sell that. We sell the outcome. We say, hey, I did this in X amount of time. And people say, I want that. And they don't talk to us about the process and what that looks like and just how you have to be emotionally. So even when you mention with people who want to skip the steps, one of my friends used to always talk to us about like the dangers of just arrested development and what happens when you get too much too soon. And so, we think back on things that we squandered because we got them too soon, because we weren't emotionally ready to be able to handle some of the responsibilities that comes with it. So like you said, in terms of pressure, like it's just everybody can't manage it, but we don't see that until we get in the thing. And then we realize, oh, this is what people were talking about. Right. But by then we've already lost some stuff. We've already broken some relationships. We've already burned some bridges. Right. So, I think it's just a challenge. So how would you encourage someone who sees an outcome that they want, regardless of industry, regardless of sector, they see this outcome they want? How would you encourage that person to go about developing themselves emotionally to be able to handle the pressure that comes with the responsibilities that they're looking for?
I think an important resource in that area is a mentor.
Yeah.
Someone who's already been there, who can tell you, watch out for this, This is how this is going to make you feel. I remember I was listening to another podcast, pastor of New Life, Rich, is it Rich? Is it Velotis?
Velotis.
Velotis. He was talking to his pastor, and Rich was working on a book when I remember the podcast, and his pastor was talking about the impact of writing a book.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, "Are you ready for that emotionally?" And it was like, what do you mean? He just think, I'm just writing a book, and this book is going to go out. But there's going to be things to take place outside of the ink on the paper that's going to change your life.
Yes.
Do you think you're emotionally ready for that? So mentorship helps you, at least prepares you.
Yes.
You know, I remember once somebody told me, a mentor of mine said, "Yeah, you do this well, but I'm concerned over here because this right here is a wreck. Like you're not ready." But I didn't understand what he meant until I got there, and I called him and said, "I got it now."
Right.
So having a mentor who can pretty much prepare the path and paint the picture for you helps you, because at least you can say, someone told me.
Yeah, but you gotta listen. I think that's where some of us get off track. We have mentors, but we're using our mentors to confirm what we already want to do instead of listening to what they are telling us or guiding us in a particular direction. So I'll give this example. I won't give the details, but you'll remember what I'm talking about. So I remember calling you one day and I'm like, "Hey, I got this opportunity. What do you think?" You were like, no. And I didn't think twice. No second thought, no nothing. Because my thing has always been, if I knew, I wouldn't have called you. And I think there are so many people that are wanting mentors, but then they don't want to listen. And that's the thing that's holding, because you can have great So sometimes we look at people's lives and we say, why didn't anybody tell them? Well, sometimes people are telling them. They're just not listening.
Right. You know, I think, not to take this conversation into another direction, but I think too, we really have to choose mentors who are real mentors. And a mentor doesn't want anything from you but for you to become the best version of yourself. I'm not helping you for you to help me. Because the truth of the matter is, if you have a mentor, you can't do anything for them.
Correct.
Not that I'm perfect or this guy and I have it all together, but I didn't want anything out of that situation but for you to be okay. And when you brought it to me, I was like, "Sir, absolutely not. You will regret it and you would hate me if I told you yes." But I think that's important, to be in a place to give the information and be emotionally healthy, and then being in a place to receive it and be emotionally healthy, versus, "Oh, he told me no because he's trying to hold me back." Or no, because he sees this and I could be better than him, and he's, and all of that. But when you have someone you trust, you can listen to them and they can help you get to wherever you're trying to go faster.
So on that subject, this happens. I see this a lot, especially in church. Now, I think on the business side, there seems to be a greater degree of receptivity than there is on the church side. Because on the church side, you do get this person's trying to hold me back. So why do you think that is? Why do you think in church settings, in church spaces? So as a spiritual leader, looking over your experiences, why do you feel like people are a little bit more or less likely to adhere to wise counsel?
I think in churches, the dynamics are so different that there are layers to that leader maybe saying something to that person that they don't understand yet. That is not in the business sector. Okay, so let's use pastors for example, right? Okay. Versus a CEO. The CEO can say, "I don't want to go this way anymore. We're going to close that whole division." Now, we got a whole group of people who got to look for new jobs.
Right.
But I don't know if that CEO is losing any sleep.
Right.
Because I'm responsible for the company. We got to make this money. We have to grow. We have to expand. And this is a decision I'm going to make. And that's the loss I'm willing to take. Mm-hmm. When it comes down to pastoring, every decision a pastor makes seems to follow them even 20, 30 years later. Mm-hmm. And people hold you to a different expectation, right?
Yes.
And I think when it comes down to it's layers, and I don't want to, get into anything that's murky or messy, but it's just layers to it. And I just think the dynamics of the two are just so different that in the church, it could be in some cases where someone is literally trying to hold them back.
Right.
Especially when you deal with the pandemic now, this is just public information. So many churches closed.
Yeah.
So many churches closed. So many churches were struggling and some still are struggling.
Yes.
And if you are a pastor and you're trying to hold your congregation together, and then you have somebody who is a communicator and young and has vision and has energy and they want to start to do something, and you're going to leave from where we are, that might be a problem.
Right.
But it's layers to why that's a problem, so but I think overall, if we could prepare better,
yes,
we could do better in transitions like that, because we have to understand everybody who's going to come isn't going to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, even when you mention just this piece on emotional intelligence, I think how we are in terms of context, like where we came from, those kinds of things impact how we show up emotionally, because some of us were raised in context where there's a natural distrust for people. Mm-hmm. So even when we do get into new environments, we don't know how to open ourselves up to people because of where we come from. So like, me being raised in the hood, we had a natural, like we saw people and it's like, okay, what you want? Like, cause the assumption was everybody wants something. Mm-hmm. So there are times where that can be a challenge. So how would you advise someone who maybe because of their upbringing, maybe because of some of the experiences that they've had that caused them to be maybe a little more emotionally closed off, but now they're in this space, this season where in order for them to become the kind of person that God wants them to be, they have to open up emotionally. How would you advise someone to go about doing that given their context?
Well, I would say this: no matter whether you grew up in the hood, country, suburban area, it doesn't matter. Everything moves at the speed of trust.
Yeah, that's good.
So before I will do something for you, you have to prove to me that you're trustworthy.
Yeah.
So until you can prove that, then there is no moving forward. And I think sometimes we may just be in an environment where people are just toxic to make us not trust people.
Yes.
But I think when you get into a different environment to realize that everybody isn't there or in that place, that you can move differently and realize, oh, I can open up and I can trust. But I think it becomes really an asset, because I think if something needs to happen, you can make a cut and make a transition much faster than someone who's just so trustworthy and so open and we can share with everybody. And now, why did they do that to me? And it's because you didn't have any parameters and any boundaries in place. So I think it goes hand in hand. I just think you need to know that you have a problem trusting people.
Yes.
We got to start there. Like, I don't trust people. Okay.
Right.
Now, why don't you trust people? Then we'll deal with that. Then we'll assess it.
Yes.
Then we're going to manage it. Now we'll move forward from it. So.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think it's something that so many people struggle with, just how they show up in their experiences and things that they've gone through and how that stuff impacts the way that we see the world. So I definitely think that's really important. So what would you say has been, is it either your experience or an experience that you've seen that was a direct result of a person lacking emotional intelligence, where you can look at an instance and say, that particular situation, this particular season was just a lack of emotional intelligence.
The situation that is coming to mind, I can't use that one. Everybody would know what I'm talking about. But I think in an instance of making a move, I'll use this one. I remember once having a conversation with someone who wanted to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them that I didn't think they should do it. I didn't think that they were ready to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they felt otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a part of it came to head because they were really frustrated with the relationship prior to me.
Yeah.
Not that I did something to them, but they were frustrated with the relationship prior to me. And they decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. Obviously, you don't believe in me. They didn't believe in me. Other people didn't believe in me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to prove all of you wrong, and made a decision without really hearing the counsel of why,
Mm-hmm.
And made a move, and, you know, things didn't work out exactly the way they thought.
Yeah. Wow. That's, you know, but that happens. So that's a whole nother conversation, because that happens so often, where people are out here being fueled by this desire to prove people wrong. And sometimes without competence, sometimes without the necessary skills.
That's painful.
To actually do the thing that they're motivated to do, but they're being driven solely by, I want to prove people wrong. And I mean, I get it.
Right.
I know, you know, we know some successful people, entrepreneurs in various spaces, that have used that type of obstacle to fuel them to some of the things that they've achieved. But at the same time, you know, it really can be a challenge. You know, I think we've all seen instances where people just emotionally just drop the ball.
But let's take that thought a little deeper. I'm going to prove everybody wrong. If that's the fuel you have, okay, what happens when you've proven everybody wrong? You're going to get to a place, and now you will have nothing else to prove. And more than likely, you're going to be by yourself.
Yes.
Because you didn't care what you had to do. At any cost, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. And I think, once again, what's the emotion behind it? Is it the fact that they rejected you and you're looking for acceptance, like I said earlier? Or it's just you always wanted to be in and you felt like you were out? We have to figure that out. Otherwise, you're always going to be making moves saying it's one thing when really it's something else. And I just think a conversation about, you know, emotional intelligence and emotional management is extremely important, you know, even when we deal with, you know, our lives on a day-to-day basis. But look, man, I think we talked enough about this. I think they got some things they can think about this week. And I think we're gonna give them a break. What you think?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're a little overwhelmed on this. Like, it was a lot.
Yeah, because emotionally, you have to get your emotions together in order for you to walk into your purpose in the next season of your life. And I believe you have what it takes to build yourself up emotionally.
Yes.
I can't wait to hear what happens as a result of this conversation. And you have the tools and the resources and some ideas and some things to think through so that you can be who you need to be. So listen, I want to say thank you again for listening to the Simeon Moultrie podcast.
Yes.
For co-host Andrea. It's been good. It's been great. And I can't wait to next week. Listen, for more information, make sure you check out SimeonMoultrie.com. We're going to have blogs there, content there. My event calendar is going to be there, and we're creating some more courses that I'm super excited about.
Yes.
That I'm going to be dropping. I can't wait for you to be a part of that. So listen, until next week, be good and have a good one. Peace.